From ruin to reunion, chaos and John's tragedy could reignite Kristen and Brady's love on Days of Our Lives. For longtime viewers of Days of Our Lives, few romantic entanglements have been as electric, toxic, and unforgettable as the turbulent saga between Brady and Kristen. What once seemed like a passionate love story destined for heartbreak now teeters on the edge of unexpected revival. At the heart of it all is their daughter Rachel, whose increasingly disturbing behavior threatens to tear their lives apart, even as it might ironically be the thread stitching them back together. With the looming tragedy of John's death casting a heavy shadow over Salem, the lines between co-parenting and rekindled romance are starting to blur. Could grief and guilt truly pull Kristen and Brady into each other's arms again? As tensions rise and dark secrets threaten to surface, Salem may soon witness one of its most dramatic relationship reversals yet. A cold war of co-parenting, Brady and Kristen in turmoil. To the casual observer, Kristen and Brady appear to be just two exes doing their best to raise their daughter amidst impossible circumstances. Theirs is a fractured history, littered with betrayals, broken trust, and moments of desperation. After their final split, many believe that nothing short of a miracle or a major catastrophe could ever bring them back together. But time and again, Salem has taught us that no door is ever truly closed. The latest storm in their already weathered relationship centers around their daughter, Rachel. Once a sweet and precocious little girl, Rachel has recently transformed into a deeply troubled child, one whose behavioral issues reflect the chaos of her lineage. From issuing terrifying threats via text to actively taking part in a kidnapping, Rachel has proven she's a DiMera through and through. And her descent into darkness is testing the already strained dynamic between her parents. Brady was utterly blindsided when it came to light that Rachel had sent threatening messages to Ava, a woman he'd grown close to. The words were chilling. Even worse, Rachel defended her actions by claiming she learned how to handle her enemies from her mother, Kristen. That admission didn't just rattle Brady. It shattered his burgeoning relationship with Ava, leaving behind a crater of resentment. Kristen, of course, tried to downplay her daughter's remarks. But everyone in Salem knew that Rachel had simply been emulating the mother she admired and feared in equal measure. And while Kristen might have feigned surprise, there was no denying her role in shaping Rachel's increasingly erratic behavior. A party in Wonderland. And a glimpse into Rachel's mind still reeling from their daughter's dramatic antics, Brady and Kristen attempted to put on a united front by throwing Rachel a birthday party. Themed around Alice in Wonderland, it was meant to be whimsical and joyful, a distraction from the chaos. But in reality, it was a somber reminder of just how isolated Rachel had become. The guest list was telling. Beyond Kristen and Brady, the only other attendees were her uncle EJ and, briefly, her Aunt Belle. The absence of any school friends made one thing abundantly clear: Rachel's behavior had not gone unnoticed in the wider community. Even at such a young age, she was feared and shunned, a child carrying the weight of her parents' reputations. Still, Kristen and Brady tried to make the best of it. They smiled, shared cake, and watched their daughter unwrap presents. But underneath the surface, the tension between them simmered. Kristen traded barbs with EJ about the Ava situation, while Belle, now Salem's district attorney, excused herself early, clearly unwilling to get entangled in the morally murky conversations swirling around the DiMera household. Rachel, for her part, seemed particularly eager for EJ to stay. But was it affection? Or something darker, guilt? The gun, the nightmare, and a guilt-ridden child a few months ago, a shocking act of violence rocked Salem. EJ was shot. The gun used was traced back to Johnny, who had been seen handling it shortly before the incident. But when Roman found the weapon sloppily hidden in a planter outside the DiMera mansion, questions began to mount. Would Johnny, clever, careful Johnny, really stash a firearm so recklessly? Whispers began to circulate. Was it someone else? Could little Rachel, fueled by misplaced loyalty or fear, have pulled the trigger? The evidence, though circumstantial, started to point in that unsettling direction. And more clues have emerged. On the night of her birthday party, Rachel suddenly claimed exhaustion and said she wanted to go to bed early, choosing to delay opening her remaining gifts. What child does that on their birthday? Then came the nightmare. A terrified Rachel rushed into Kristen's arms, trembling and muttering about a gunshot. Kristen, trying to soothe her daughter, claimed the noise came from her accidentally knocking over a tea tray. But the look in Rachel's eyes said otherwise. And Kristen knew. Or at least, she suspected. Her fierce motherly instinct kicked in. Whatever Rachel had done, or seen, Kristen would protect her daughter at all costs. Brady and Kristen. A fragile alliance forming while the police and the rest of Salem try to piece together the truth. Kristen and Brady find themselves thrown into an unexpected alliance. For the sake of their daughter, they've begun working together again, attending therapy sessions, planning Rachel's days, even sharing quiet conversations about her future. For two people who've sworn never to trust one another again, they're starting to act very much like a couple. And it's not just about parenting. It's about comfort. It's about familiarity. It's about something unresolved still lingering between them. Tragedy strikes, John's imminent death, and then, another bombshell rocks their already fragile world. John, Brady's beloved father, is on the verge of death. His condition had seemed to stabilize, and Marlena even received a phone call that briefly lifted her hopes. But optimism in Salem is often short-lived. John is soon declared missing, and then, presumed dead. The ripple effect is immediate. Brady is devastated. His world, already shaky, crumbles further. And who is there, by his side, ready to offer comfort? Kristen. It may seem strange to newer viewers, but the history between Kristen and John is long and layered. Long before she ever fell for Brady, Kristen had a romantic past with John himself. That old affection still lingers in some quiet corner of her heart. And now, mourning the loss of a man they both loved, Kristen and Brady find themselves clinging to each other for emotional survival. Love rekindled amidst loss. Brady once told Belle that his feelings for Kristen were like an addiction, dangerous, alluring, impossible to quit. He likened her to alcohol, something that tempts him, torments him, and ultimately consumes him if he lets it. But grief does strange things to the human heart. With Ava gone and his emotional defenses down, Brady is vulnerable. Kristen, always strategic, sees the cracks in his armor. But this time, her approach isn't manipulation, it's empathy. She knows what he's lost. She knows what it feels like to lose family, to grieve, to ache. And so they sit. They talk. They cry. They lean on each other. One night turns into two. One hug becomes a kiss. And just like that, a love thought long dead begins to flicker back to life. Rachel's dream come true? It's no secret that Rachel has long wished her parents would reunite. Her schemes, as dangerous as they are, have always been rooted in a desperate desire for a complete family. Could her recent behavior, however misguided, be her way of forcing their hands? Ironically, it may be the very chaos Rachel created, and the death of her grandfather, that finally brings Kristen and Brady back together. In the ashes of destruction, sometimes love takes root. And while the road ahead is bound to be treacherous, one thing is clear, the story of Kristen and Brady is far from over. In Salem, nothing stays buried forever. Not secrets. Not guilt. And certainly not love.
days of our lives.